Welcome to the Compromise to Alchemized podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Neil Bolton-Donnie. I'm excited as you join me in this journey to listen to my conversations with some of the leading experts in the field of healing from a broad range of disciplines. Greetings and welcome to the Compromise to Alchemized podcast. And this is part 2 of my interview with Dr. Erick. And I wanted to preface this interview because this portion of it was just so clearly in a direction of depth that it felt so much like a separate interview. We kind of had the idea going in, of course, that we would record a longer interview and perhaps split it up into 2. But, I don't like to plan so much. And so it ended up just being perfectly kind of lining up in that once we covered some of those main points of Dr. Erick's journey with being a pediatrician, delving into healing, delving into tethered oral tissues, and, looking at primitive reflexes, we talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about the convergence of all these, the village, the collaborative care model, and, of course, some of the work that we've done in collaboration. But what I'm really excited for is in this second interview, I really wanted to kind of preface it a little bit more to say there's a clear shift in tone from us talking about more of the body work and the physical healing, let's say. Whereas in this second portion, we talk about the cosmic nature of the cell. And I love Dr. Erick's words when he talks about that. We talk about the mysteries of the body and more of the connection in the fabric of our being, how, it's way more than just our bodies. So, of course, I'll leave the interview to speak for it. And we also talk about, I ask Dr. Erick this question, which, there's going to be a certain theme that I carry with certain podcast interviews where we go into that depth of not asking somebody so much as, like, what do you love doing? What are you meant to do? What are you called to do? Those are really specific. Those are really big. But I ask Erick this question of, what's your personal legend from The Alchemist? What do you see? And he answers it, and I'm really excited for you to listen in and tune into what he says on that. I know that I could be directing you all towards some of the Floor of the Mouth tour, just events that I've got coming up, and I will. And then, of course, just tune into some of the podcasts that I've done with others, and just the exciting kind of hosts what they're doing in the world and how they've had me on their podcast has been really an honor. But it's an honor to have Dr. Erick here, and of course, delving to the depths that he did with the vulnerability. I really appreciated that, and I think you're all going to enjoy listening. So please tell me more. What's something that, is riveting to you, maybe that you haven't shared so far, that like compels you whether it's in your practice or in, I know, not only were you, you did some training with the Breathe student, Dr. Shizagi, and you mentioned Laylee, and that's wonderful. And then I know you were on Lisa Palladino's podcast, which was awesome. And I know, and then you're going to be on, you can mention anything else you want to mention, but also you were at the Breathe and Thrive symposium in Florida this year, which is amazing. And you mentioned some other trainings. Tell us a couple other trainings that you've been to, and then anything upcoming that you're thinking about with that.
I'm thinking, as always, and I know it's a kind of cliched, but I truly believe that I stand on the shoulders of knowledge of so many people and yourself. And I told you before this, like, would you become my mentor, Neil? And you said, well, yeah, this is, well, I mean, why don't you go through my content and we'll take it from there. So what I would say about my path, it started out just with the tongue ties, that I thought it was just a simple thing. and it was just about the release. It was just a clipping, a snip, right underneath the tongue, and one thing led to another, and then I now connect to one of the pretty knowledgeable people that have taught me to think about systems, and this system of the swallow, I mean the suction, swallow, breathe, right, the complex and all the connection that it has with the cranial nerves and the craniofacial complex. And it's I don't know, yeah, maybe you know her. She's pretty in the field. New Jersey Associates in Feeding Therapy, Nancy Calamusa. She posts a lot and she does intensives all over the states. And she went to Ireland with Dustin Roche. I mean, she was the one that told me. I mean, you if you want to learn about feeding, you
Mm-hmm.
have to learn the basics, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
start. Because I asked her, Nancy, as I asked yourself, Nancy, what should I do? And she goes, start from the beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
the beginning is sock, swallow, breathe, and learn about that and read books from 1999 and feeding disorders, because I mean that knowledge hasn't changed, and you need to have a pretty good grasp about the sock, swallow, breathe pattern. And then with the Maya Monchi founder, then she goes suck, swallow, breathe, and then chew, swallow,
Mm-hmm.
breathe,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I mean, and maybe because of my readings that I've done recently, I have my books all over the place. I have Poor Charlie's Almanac over
Right.
here, and then over here I have Anatomy Trains from Tom Myers, and then I have Dr. Porter's book over here. I mean, you need to have a good system and a good mental model to understand, because it's all about. And then I could add, you were talking about nervous system and psychology and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it started with the tongue, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, you need to know more. And I thought it was going to be only, and I mean, I totally, my respects to Dr. Richard Baxter,
Yeah.
and my expectations as a release provider that I wanted to become. It was like, yeah, I need to have cases, cases, cases. But you cannot imagine, Neil. And then just in Florida, Dr. Baxter, he asked me, so how many releases you do per day or per week? And I was like, yeah, I could do one a week. I could do one every 2 weeks. But you know why that has happened, Neil, is because now people come to me uh, wanting to know more about the airway and about the nervous system and about breathing and about posture and
Right.
about and about and I tell them, I'm not Dr. Neil, I'm not Dr. Josh Matson, I'm not a neurologist, but I know a little bit about primitive reflexes. And I know that if you retain those reflexes, your baby's not going to thrive. It's not going to be regulated properly. It's not going to go physically, developmentally the way it should go. And nowadays, the cases that I'm seeing about oral restrictions, it's more in preschoolers and elementary children, and not that much into babies. And then because I learned the hard way, and it's also shout out again to Dr. Gigi Tadros. I wish her all the best. So she's in good health, and let's pray for her. But she told me she was the one that mentioned. I mean, a release. It's uh, a method or a thing of a last resort. You have to do the work, and I saw it yesterday. So if you want to know another case, a 2 month old, it was immediate release after birth with a laser, but there was no preparation, there was no follow up. And the baby came to me from the physio that was seeing him for a second opinion, and you could not imagine the tightness, Neil. It was reattached, it was thicker, it
Mm-hmm.
was more tense. The baby had so many like torticollis, plagiocephaly, deregulation with sleep, and it was all because of the rush
Yeah.
of saying, I see to the tip of the mouth, tongue tie. I see it like a quick fix. I have my laser. I need to use it. I need my return of investment, and it was a pediatric dentist, and things went and it backlashed, and it went sideways. So those things are like my comments for us to reflect on them. You know, the complexity and the system based thinking and having good mental models. And I mean, you mentioned being not too much of an esoteric, but sometimes I'm a little bit afraid with my patients. But I know the connections in every appointment that I have, you need to add the element of energy. And sometimes I mock myself and I tell patients, don't get scared that I'm going to start dancing around your baby
Right.
and
Yeah,
doing a
totally.
chant right here for him to for the fever to go away. But I think we do need to consider this. This I mean, it's from the broader spectrum to the
Absolutely.
elemental.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned your was it the astronaut analogy that you do.
Hmm.
We are how do you say it in the womb when you're in biology podcast? Remind me
Yeah.
about like we are
Yeah.
uteronauts,
We
right?
come into this
So
world as uteronauts. Yeah, exactly.
we could find our cosmos in our cells, right? Because it's I mean, if you go into a cell, the complexity of a cell, it's the complexity of the cosmos, right?
Hmm.
So we cannot get rid of that conception of the complexity and of the mystery of how in the world the Goldilocks effect of being here right now at this moment, being alive, and all that happens inside us that connects us to the cosmos. I know, and you and I, that's why I love you so much, because I know
Uh-huh.
that you and I, they go like, whoo, we get lost ourselves. But I think if we try to find ways, I try to find ways, Neil, to bring that to every interaction I have with my patients, because they need to know this. They need to know about the regulation. They need to know about the cosmic connection between people. We are so interconnected as human beings, don't you think? I mean, we sometimes we try to divide ourselves and think like we just belong to my parents, to my family. But I mean, as human beings coming from the Big Bang, I mean, to me, I told you the other day, right, that I love physics. I don't. I'm pretty like I don't. I know blip about physics, but I mean, it blows my mind how we can know so many things from observations, right? And that energetic component of our presence. I mean, to me, it's like that's why I connect with you, with you, and I'm excited that you mentioned sometimes Dr. Nordstrom and all those people that they're like this mysterious way of knowing. This conception is like those 1 in a million years human beings that are able to express and grasp all these knowledge, right? It's like they're like these savants, no? It's like wow. So and there you are. To me, there you are.
Hmm.
Because the way you find ways with your words and your guests and how you seek out to people, and they're always saying yes to you, like yeah, of course, let's connect, let's have a conversation, and let's help the world and tell people about ourselves and our work, and it's all beyond the airway, and the airway, right? It's
Yeah.
energy, it's
Yes.
oxygen, it's nervous system, synapses. uh wow, I mean, it's like, and it's all here, and it was out of nothing. Just before I mean, stop me again. And sometimes I tell to parents, can you imagine, I mean, you have your child, and I mean that's for me of the utmost importance. Can you imagine that this small human being, before becoming a cell, it was just a thought, it was just a thought. It was like, and then after a thought, it became a physical connection, and then it became something physical. I mean, can you imagine just being an idea, and then us, like someone? human being able to cry and to soxal breathe and to oxygenate its brain and its brainstem and develop the appropriate way of primitive reflexes. Uh, yeah, I think I'm in a zone right now, but it's yeah. uh, Hopefully, people enjoy what we're having as a conversation right
Oh,
now. Uh,
must. We must. No, I did. I wanted you to keep going, and I'm so loving the imagery you were giving, and I think this is what we need to go into is like we need to dive into this because this is the substrate. Water is a substrate, a universal solvent, and then we are made of water. But this conversation, or the what you bring up, the cosmic substance of connectivity, the way that we're all connected, just to make it
mhm.
plain, is is the is the reason we're here, right? What are we doing if we're not being aware of that interoception, not to interoception? And what are we doing if we're not acknowledging it? That's another level. And what are we doing if we're not appraising it in our lives? Are we aware to the point to where we're aware of our awareness? That is meditation, and that is but then not just there, but then what are we going to do about it, right? Will we that's what
Okay.
that's what motivates me, because it's why I reach out to people, because I'm provoked by something in them that is a spark that resonates with my spark. And if I don't reach out to them, I feel what happens to my life. I contract. And then I know, because there's something beautiful on the other side of that connection. Whatever it is, I don't know. I have no idea, really, although I like to see the future when I can and reverse engineer it. But sometimes I don't know. So, but I think, like, what are we provoked to do with what we're aware of, and how can our awareness of what we're aware of in the world lead to that provocation to connect, so that you and I can share this knowledge, so that others can find access points to validate that they see this, if they're healers in their practices with their people, or if they're people needing healing, patients, that they can find somebody out there who can address perhaps the range of things they have going on within their bodies and beings. So I do think that there is a massive purpose in you knowing about the cosmic nature of the cell. I want to go back to that. Well, yeah, I'll go back to one thing, and I'll say yes, because you mentioned it. It's like when I started the podcast called Embryology, and I'm in my intro and outro, I had this, the phrase, because we start off as uteronauts, right? Like an astronaut, like a uteronaut. And there we are, in this field of energy. We're in and we have this, this connection to the placenta, right? We have that tether. And then we have that cord that connects us, and that's our spaceship, right? And we travel through, um, in utero, until we get to this event horizon, which is the pelvic brim, hopefully. And if not, if you were delivered through C-section, totally, you made it, right? So if we're talking to you, if you're hearing this, you made it, you were born. That's the most important thing, not how you came, although we care about that. But you made it through that event horizon, and you transmuted reality from in utero to out in the world, and you're here. And so some people may be listening to this and nobody's ever said, "You're here, welcome." Most people have, but some people were welcomed another way, with forceps, or they were welcomed with other things that were harsh, or they landed in families that weren't receptive of them. And maybe you found other families, maybe you found safe places. But if there's any part of your nervous system or your nature where you feel like that hasn't been met, to whatever extent you can receive from this, just know that you are here, you made it, you're making it. But you said this word about the cosmic nature of the cell, and I couldn't help but hear this song by Jamiroquai. I don't know if you remember that guy. He was in like the
Yeah,
90s. And it's,
yeah,
of course, his lyric is, um, "You're just the cosmic girl," right? But you're the
yeah,
cell, right? You're just the cosmic
yeah.
cell. Um,
Uh,
and then I couldn't help but think at the end of your conversation about Michael Jackson's, like, "Heal the world, make it a better place," and because I really valued, I emulated Michael Jackson in dance growing up. He was my icon of, like, how I moved with flexing and with robotic movement and break and all that stuff. So that I had a lot of early moments in dance, and I still do. But the stuff you said in between is like, this is what we need to really encounter and put out there. and bring people into a place of understanding on, meaning like there's great people that are talking about the energy and the resonance that we can have, and so I feel that there are so many people we could say, oh, go listen to this podcast, but we're here. So I think it's really good to say, um, if you kind of look at us as, uh, we're all traveling through this life and we all have these roles to play, multiple roles, right? Just like I'm a husband, to a wonderful wife in person. And then I'm a, dad to three children, and I'm a brother, to two siblings, and I'm a son of two parents. But beyond that, like, we have that role, and then we have a role as a healer. We happen to, I think a lot of patients who come in, and I love to, teach them body work that they can do for their babies or kids at the end, or themselves. So they're healers too, right? But we carry a like a role as healers. People come to for that guidance and expert guidance. And then what else though, right? I think I want to delve into this other category of who we are. We're exploring reality, right? We're exploring reality. We're explorers, and we're traversing these terrains, making sense in consciousness of what we're seeing, because technically nobody really knows. We all have theories. We all have theories about why we're doing tongue tie releases. We all have theories about why we're working with primitive reflexes, why we go to Josh Matson, why we go to Muscatova. Pam Curley is an amazing collaborator of mine too with the Muscatova neural reflex integration technique. Why we go to all these amazing providers out there for healing. It's like, because we want to unlock our bodies so that what, right? So that we can live more fully. I mean, most people come in and they're not like, I need my jaw to be like freer because I want the mechanics of the jaw to work better. I've had a few people who come in with that. Like, they're like, they just want everything to work mechanically so well. But usually if you dig deep enough, and what most people say is, well, I just can't stand the fact that I'm so aware of my body and my pain. I just want to be free of that so that I can ... right? Dance, love, enjoy, enjoy that food and chew that food without having to be, we're mostly like looking at like, what are we not enjoying because of the restrictions and hindrances? And what are those people, the connections, and those things, those activities, and those pursuits that we can unlock? And so I think some people, I like to, when they come into me and I'm like, what is your goal today? Like, what would you most hope to gain out of today? And when the patients, say that, they're like, that's a good question. And I'm like, and then, they tell me something and I'm like, okay, so how can we go about that? Right. And it's a partnership and a dialogue. But what I wanted to say to you is, that's like, I think you carry that visionary nature about you, where you want to see beyond your role as those roles, and you want to become this ambassador, affiliate, and those aren't the right words in one way. You want to become a liaison. You want to become a guide to help people become who they really are, past their limitations. And I see you very much doing that. Like, you are just bursting through all the roles that you have, and you're exuding such positivity, vitality, and strength that people are being attracted to you because they want that. They want to learn how to acquire that for their lives. And then we have this area where we can say, you've been nudging yourself and others along to help them become more of who they are, so that, because in this moment, I'm just telling you, like, again, you need to stop me here in a minute because I'm talking too much on the podcast. But I see that word, that so that, because what to what end is this all, and so maybe I'll end and then pass the baton to you and saying, like, what we can say that, to what end is any of this, right? We have this expression of life to allow us to come to the capacity that we can, to pull from one of my favorite books that you mentioned, The Alchemist, who, of course, that book provoked me to have that word in my field of consciousness, to have it be the name of my podcast, Compromised to Alchemized. Santiago is the boy who goes on that journey and he learns from the alchemist. And he's, this whole time, as he was told about his personal legend, another word for destiny, right? He's
Hmm.
seeking his personal legend. And I think I like to see the legend as a legend on a map. And you have this map that exists, and you have the legend where you go look at the legend and you can refer to the legend to know how far along in the map have I come. And it has those icons that familiarize you with your terrain. So, but the legend that you have, the personal legend, the destiny, the calling, like that's what we are awakening, I think, within us as we talk here, because um, within this field of airway feeding, we're I'm speaking for you, but please don't take this unless you want it. I feel that like I'm occupying this space because the goal is to unlock myself, but also to help others unlock so they can become these um, undivided beings, collected, connected, coherent, and integrated, because we all have something that we are destined to do on this planet. And whatever it is, whatever scale it is, like that is something in our spark and our flame that needs to sometimes have the ignition by someone else. And I definitely see you as a flame lighter, as a spark giver, as a catalytic person who can really, help people come into that state. And I want to acknowledge that about you, because you mentioned this, and even you said like you listen to every podcast because I said it. I'm like, oh boy, Neil, just don't. It's not about me. It's about and I'm humbled by the fact that you are learning from what I'm putting out there, because your brilliance in your ways, and also you have many people out there that you've been learning from. But so I feel like one of the most certain um, strides in my life is to say, stay true, follow that intuitive flow, so that we can in every moment hopefully arrive at those moments where we're truly living in that personal legend. uh, so I want to know from you, um, if you can put it into those words. You've used so many, you could use any words. What do you feel is your personal legend, if you'd allow me to ask you?
Uh, I had before I try to. I'm gonna take some words that you mentioned. You mentioned spark. You mentioned expansion. You mentioned going beyond, and then your legend. I think I see myself as a try to be the best companionship for
Mm,
uh, for people to find the way, and at the same time they are. It's 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 reciprocal, they by this is help me help you. I mean, through helping, through doing this companionship or this going along, you find your way. So it's it's within you, but it's more. It's within you, but it's beyond you.
mm,
And I think that, to be honest, I must confess, I had so many doubts of why I became a physician. And it's one of my, speaking about the body keeps a score and trauma. It was like I didn't know better. And I became just like my dad, a pediatrician. But since parting ways, I, more than a pediatrician, I would like to see myself as someone that is knowledgeable enough, that helps people to find their light through health, through airways, through body,
mm,
and I love to find ways for people to understand by putting the pieces together.
mm-hmm.
And I think with my social media content, that's what one of the highlights, and I think I do recognize that in myself.
Yeah.
I think I am able to put concepts in ways that are simple to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe for laymen, for lay people, I mean, it's like my my way of finding to simplify the complexity. and always to look beyond, as you mentioned. That's why
Mm.
I love the way you go with words. And we could have, I mean, by listening to you, I was like, this should be written in a book, in your memoirs or something like that. Because I mean, the spontaneity of how words come out is it's impressive. So, but to your question, I think I would like to see myself just like sitting and be more a listener, because you help out so much by just listening, and listening with your presence, and finding your ways to bring your energy to people and say, just by being here, I feel that I found my way, and that will be amazing to me to be as my legend. Ooh,
Ah,
that's what I would say.
powerful.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I want to a quick interlude to say this is going to be very practical in what I'm saying because I want to speak to what you're saying, but I just want you to know that the last, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, this is going in the second. Um, so when somebody's listening to this, you'll be hearing this. There's the prior episode that Eric and I that came out with us that was talking a lot more about the practical, there was a lot of beautiful things in it, but we've delved into these deep waters here where this needs its own separate container so that you can feel even, if this helps you even feel freer to go deeper, you can. I think because we have people who are listening for airway feeding, and then we have others who want to go swim deeper into waters. And it's not always the same. You don't always want to do that in the same day. Somebody might be like, I ate a lot of food today, and I just want to stay on the surface of the water because if I swim too deep, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, float back up. That's a really, rough shot analogy. But whereas some people are like, no, we need these deep waters, and I need to know more about that now, and I want to go even deeper in the expressions that we're saying. So, just
yeah.
Dr. Eric, know that. Yeah, so this will be in that second one that I have a proper intro to kind of tell people. Here's what you're about to hear. You're about to hear Dr. Eric and I. If you listen to the first one, we're gonna go even deeper. This is kind of what we're doing. We're extemporaneously exploring terrains based on, to put simply, who are we today and how are we today. But I feel like we've been this episode has been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while. I mean, it's not that long ago in one way, but it feels like forever. And that's how it feels to know you. It feels like we've known each other for so long because of the depth of our connection, depth of our relationship. And I consider you friend, I consider you peer, colleague, all these things. So I I love that you're willing to navigate, and I really love how you, kind of took some of the words that I said, but really, it evoked what you feel deeper within, what kind of person that you want to be, and I think that's a very great example of like you're always learning, you're curious, you're humble, and that means. We're always going to evolve and grow in who we are and how we show up for people, and I feel that. And I feel when we put flames together, sure, we get a bigger flame, we get more light to illuminate, and we can then not only see what we couldn't see before on the path ahead, but we can see some of the things that maybe didn't work out too well, right? Because light
Yeah.
brings illumination of that, and we need that. So, um, but you know what? I'm going to pull from the analogy of at the same time, portals, event horizons, they're very dark. You can't see anything, right? So when you go through a portal, you can't see it because it's dark matter, right? There's no actual physical tangible structure we're going through, but it's very clear to me in moments in life when I've just gone through one of those, when I've gone through a catalytic, transformative phase. And I feel like you've given us a lot of those that you've been on. You mentioned so many amazing people and uh, that have been like for you co-guides or guides to usher you in deeper in the journey. Um, I'm really like I can't leave out the fact that I'm really hoping on one of my upcoming, you know, trainings that I'm doing across a few different states that we're going to connect in person at one of those, hopefully. But because I see on the other side of this is a great, you know, in person collaboration. But I feel like running with this theme of you know, showing, like, you know, for me, just finding out more about you, but also showing people, you know, where does your you just have so much compassion, you have so much, you so much care. Can you say, where does that come from? Like, where do you feel that comes from? Do you, when you see like how you care for someone, how you like affirm them and all of that, do you look at someone like saying like that comes from this one person or these people, or, and it doesn't have to be a person, right? It could be just like, no, it's just the way that I flow. Is there anything that comes to mind? Who's been your biggest teacher when it comes to nurture, stewardship, compassion, care, love?
Uh, we are, I would say, as providers, and I wanted to a little bit explain a little bit more that I'm thankful that I was hesitant about why am I a physician, and now I have found so much meaning because by going through medicine and then I think the clinical skills thinking, and then it keeps you curious and it keeps you wanting to know more. So because of medicine, I'm here in front of you. So I just wanted to say now I think I'm in this journey and in this path as a physician, but I'm evolving because I'm not prescribing. I'm more like a listener, like a counselor, like a guide. So that's one thing I want to get rid of my mind before I told you about my inspiration. And when you were asking me the question, I was thinking about the book of Poor Charlie's Almanac, and it was saying, and they have this. I think it comes from mathematics or physics, and it says invert, always invert. So I would say, and we have so many sides, and I would say where my compassion and the things you asked me about, where they come from, is from in many ways, Neil, from me knowing, being aware of the times that I haven't done that. Like
Mm-hmm.
the times, and that to me is inverting.
Yeah.
Knowing that the way that I could have been or have been, that it's not in the way you asked me. Uh, I've been not helpful. I've been not giving the best part of me or the best of me. So I go and say, so it comes from awareness and it comes from life experiences. It comes from you. It comes from Dr. Zagi. It comes from Chad, Laylee's husband. It comes
Mm-hmm.
from Baxter and his religiousness that I love because he's so committed. He's so honest. It comes from my wife, it comes from my dad. So I think I do have an open mind for learning and staying humble about from learning and from this awareness of how flawed I can be if I'm not aware. So I would say there's not one person. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the way you are evolving as a human being. That helps me on my day to day. It's like if you don't focus on the sock swallow breathe to become to go back and become a little bit more technical. It's like awareness is like if you don't identify sock swallow breathe, you're gonna just focus on the tongue tie and you're not gonna see the you're not gonna be able to zoom out the 10,000 feet view. So I would like I sum it up as saying, and I know it's another word that's too overused. It's really the understanding of awareness and awareness of your own awareness. We're going with these word games, but yeah, I mean, it's saying there's so many times I'm going to be not aware, so be aware of that.
Yeah.
and and and
It's good
and
wisdom.
I don't know. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Learning from where learning, reviewing. That's so great. This is like a sports analogy, right? In the sports world, most like championship teams and excellent teams, their coaches are going to have them review footage so they can look and study. Yeah, what went right, but yeah, of course they're going to look at what did they not do so they can correct that. So the next
Uh-huh.
time when they get to that point in the game, they've seen it. So I think this that reviewing the past in order to make those adjustments for the future is such a good practice. I love that. So, any wisdom you have? We got like just over 5 minutes or so here. The
Mhm.
only thing is the only thing making me want to put a container on the end time. I know you have your work today.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday, right? And I have a
Uh-huh.
patient coming in soon as well, and I've got to do a lightning quick setup to get ready for them after we finish. But I wanted to just share some wisdom that you have. It's jam packed, but a clarion call message to people if they're listening to you and saying, and you can say that 1 minute elevator pitch of like, what would you leave them with if you want them to kind of come into this world and step forward with that awareness you're talking about, and we could just say make it really practical or make it however you want, and just know that while we don't have a million pediatricians listening to this, we do have a lot of
We
healers
wish.
of all kinds. We have a lot of people who are they're just tuning in because they're either in our fields or
Yeah, we're preaching to the choir, but yeah.
some people are not the choir. Some people are like, I don't know how I came across you, and it's a mom and dad listening. So that's probably familiar for you as well. So to
Uh-huh.
whatever place they're coming from, can I offer some wise words that kind of you can leave with people?
Yeah, I may be able. I mean, to be honest, I'm gonna quote someone because I think it resonates with me, and it's a 1 minute elevator pitch as a healthcare provider. I mean, and I say it. It's in English, and it sounds perfectly in English. To me, it resonates. Breathing is the beginning, and that's from the Breathe Institute. That's from Dr. Zagi, and that's how he ends up his marvelous seminars and training courses. Because breathing is the beginning, and it almost it gives me the goosebumps. It makes me want to have a little bit of it sheds a little bit of tears. I mean, if you can imagine how impactful is to consider breathing the starting point, and it's also something you cannot argue against. The way you should breathe, it connects you with so many fields, so many fields, uh the sciences and the non-scientifical. So because breathing is the beginning, I think that could be a good motivation for anyone to say, well, what would I need to do if someone tells me, hey, focus on the breathing and most of the things will be fine, you know? Like focus on the breathing and you're not going to need so many material things that are keeping you on the with a gridlock. So, yeah. So it's all about the breathing to me.
Yeah,
That'll be
love
the
it.
last piece of wisdom and the elevator pitch.
Love that.
That's what I would
That's good.
say,
That's a good one.
right? Yeah.
I know people, we've mentioned your social media account, and if you would just tell people that we'll have it all in the reels and posts and show notes and etc. But just if you would tell people that your Instagram handle, anywhere else they can find you, and anything else that you're doing that you want people to know about.
I mean, I need to learn from the masters. So because you have your website, you have your courses, you have your podcast, you have your social media handle. To me, it's mainly Instagram. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
right.
my go-to place. That's my place where I have my following. That's where I connect with people, message with people, and that's where I create my content. Very authentic, spontaneous, organic, and it's Dr. Erick, DRERICK dot pediatra. And yeah, please check me out and see how I find so amazing people like you. Mhm.
Yeah, and you're you have quite the following. So it's not like you're, just trying to beckon people towards. I mean, you have so many. It was like it's something like 270 something. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot of followers, a lot of people who know your name and know what you do, and that speaks to the way that you're yourself, and you love to help educate, and also you share what you think can be an inspiration to others. And you are an inspiration to me. I find such value in our conversations, and of course in the work you're doing as well. So I am looking forward to another time of chatting, to another time of conversation and connection. But yeah, just thank you, Erick, for your time. Anybody listening, check out, Erick's Instagram account, and, shoot him a message, and, just consider that even if you can't make it there, you can perhaps consider him a resource and somebody who can offer some guidance. And if you have anybody in your world who you want to learn from Erick, just tell them, reach out to him. He's very wise and has so much to offer. And it's a pleasure to know you, Erick. Pleasure to have this conversation. I'm sure we'll do more here. So this is just the first of many.
The first of many. Thank you. I mean, not to say the least, I am very appreciative of you taking the time to have me as your guest, and yeah, here's to more. Here's to more conversations off the podcast, and on our WhatsApp. We have like those 6-minute, 8-minute messages
totally.
that I love, and I'm always like waiting for one of them to come to my WhatsApp feed. So thank you, Neil. Really, I really appreciate it.
So welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the Compromise to Alchemized podcast. Just have fun and listen to more as they come.
All right.
In these conversations, we do deep dives, and resources are aplenty, so please tune in and enjoy. And I'm so excited to have you along for the journey.